Good morning, everyone. And for anyone joining us outside of California, good afternoon. Welcome to Free My Future 2024. It's a student loan debt summit bringing together student borrowers, policy and government leaders, and advocates for a day of community and lively discussions on solutions to address the student debt crisis. My name is Samantha Sang. I'm the legislative director and a policy advisor at NextGen Policy, and we're one of the proud co-sponsors of today's summit. And I have the pleasure of being your MC for the day. So Free My Future is brought to you by fellow co-hosts and co-leads of the Campaign for California Borrowers' Rights Coalition. That includes Student Debt Crisis Center, Student Borrower Protection Center, Young Invincibles, and Consumer Reports. Moving on to the agenda, we have a packed day for you all. So there's going to be lots of information for California borrowers, but plenty throughout the day of useful and crucial updates for any borrower across the country. So first, you're going to hear directly from some of our leaders on student debt issues. Then in the morning, we'll be going into panels 1 and 2 to get a current lay of the land on federal student loans across the country, as well as a recap of the election. And then during the lunch hour, grab some food, but stay close by, we'll have a sort of working lunch all together. That's going to be time for you to ask your questions about student loans directly with our Federal Student Aid Office. And we'll be taking a wellness moment as well to, unpack any emotional stress that in community with other borrowers that we're all facing. And then in the afternoon, we'll have panels to deep dive into the latest policy work on something you'll learn more about called institutional debt and college affordability. And finally, at the afternoon workshops, we'll cover California-specific borrower rights and how to get one-on-one assistance with your loans, as well as a practical walkthrough on some of those updates to student loans from the borrower's perspective. And the workshops will also be another chance to ask your questions. We're kicking off FMF 2024 with some amazing keynote speakers. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker, Clothilde V. Hewlett, who is the commissioner of our own California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, or DFPI, appointed by Governor Newsom in September 2021. She has served California under 3 different governors, serving as Undersecretary of the State and Consumer Services Agency and Interim Director of the Department of General Services. As commissioner, she is dedicated to consumer protection and innovation through proactive financial education, outreach, engagement, and public-private partnerships. She has placed a priority on advancing economic mobility and generational wealth for underserved populations. And prior to her appointment at DFPI in 2016, she became the second woman and first person of color in over 144 years to serve as executive director of the Cal Alumni Association, University of California, Berkeley. She has also previously served as Director for Moral Character Determinations at the California State Bar, as well as a San Francisco Peace Officer and Assistant District Attorney. Outside of public service, Commissioner Hewlett was a partner at K&L Gates LLP and Nossaman LLP. She has been recognized for her many significant contributions throughout her career with an assemblage of awards in recognition of her accomplishments, including the Trailblazer of the Year Award by Leadership California, the Black Women Lawyers of Northern California Lifetime Achievement Award, Cal Alumni Association's Excellence in Service Award, and the Spur Lifetime Achievement Award. Commissioner Hewlett received a BA in Political Science from the University of California, Berkeley, and a JD from the UC Berkeley School of Law. Commissioner Hewlett, do we have you on the line? All right, there you are, Commissioner. Take it away.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Clothilde Hewlett, but please call me Chloe. I'm the Commissioner of the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. I'd like to begin by thanking my dear comrade, Arnold Sowell of NextGen, for inviting me to speak with you today. I feel like it's old home week because Arnie and I were together over 20 years ago when he was my deputy commissioner in my predecessor agency. As many of you know, DFPI is California's financial services regulator, including private student loan lenders, servicers, and debt relief companies. The department has successfully taken several actions to support and protect California student loan borrowers. Most recently, we reached a major milestone in the implementation of the California Consumer Financial Protection Law, otherwise known as CCFPL. The new rulemaking will require, for the first time, that student debt relief and private post-secondary education financing services register with and submit data to the department, granting added authority to protect California consumers and provide more transparency. In 2020, Governor Newsom signed into law the California Student Loan Borrower Bill of Rights. Under this law, student loan servicers must provide clear and accurate information, minimize fees, keep records, and not engage in deceptive or abusive practices. The law gave DFPI the authority to regulate the student loan industry. In September, DFPI took enforcement actions against 3 student loan debt relief services companies to stop them from engaging in unlawful student loan debt relief practices and soliciting and collecting advance fees prior to providing any services. In February, we took similar actions against EDU Docs Support for claiming affiliation with an official government agency to collect upfront fees for debt relief and loan forgiveness services. These actions are part of DFPI's ongoing efforts to crack down on student loan debt relief companies. In Governor Gavin Newsom's 2022-23 budget, DFPI was granted $10 million in one-time funding for student loan borrower assistance. $2.75 million was dedicated to a statewide communications campaign focused on education and outreach. This effort involved the development of the Back on Track website that provides vital information about student loan borrowers' rights and options. The remaining $7.25 million was dedicated to a grant program now known as the Student Loan Empowerment Network. In January, the program awarded grants to 14 nonprofit organizations for a 2-year grant period. Awardees will provide Californians with free and individualized education, case management, and assistance with student loan issues. We launched the network and its dedicated website in June. I encourage all of you to visit our website as a go-to resource for student loan information. Higher education will set you free. My mother always taught me. And not burden you with excessive student loan payments. That's the only way we will be free. DFPI is committed to doing everything we can in partnership with all of you to make things better while so many things remain uncertain. I want to leave you with my favorite quote from John Lewis. Do not get lost in despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle for a day, a week, a month, or year. It is a struggle for a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and to get into some good trouble, necessary trouble. Thank you again for having me here today.
Thank you for your remarks and hopeful words there, Commissioner Hewlett, and for your leadership to stand by California student loan borrowers. And certainly today at Free My Future, we will be making noise together. So thank you so much, Commissioner. Now we're going to hear remarks from a California Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco, who represents the 64th Assembly District. This district encompasses parts of southwestern Los Angeles County and northern Orange County. Assemblywoman Pacheco currently chairs the Assembly Rules Committee and serves on the Judiciary, Governmental Organization, and Local Government Committees. Before coming to the Assembly, the Assemblywoman served 2 terms as the mayor of Downey, the largest city in her district, becoming the first Latina to be elected to that position. She was elected to the Downey City Council in 2016 and became mayor in 2020. She has also served as president of the League of California Cities Los Angeles Division, where she chaired the Housing, Community and Economic Development Policy Committee, and was an at-large director on the League of California Cities State Board. Assemblywoman Pacheco is a proud alumna of UCLA, receiving her bachelor's degree in political science with a specialization in Chicano-Chicana studies in 1998. She furthered her education at Loyola Law School and has been an attorney since 2003. The daughter of a nurse and a public school bus driver in a working class neighborhood, the Assemblywoman's upbringing instilled in her an appreciation for hard work and the importance of community. In and out of the legislature, Assemblywoman Pacheco is known for her warm, approachable demeanor. But don't let that fool you. She is a frequent boxer and holds a black belt in karate. With that, Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco.
Hi, I'm Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco, representing California's 64th District. The growing institutional debt crisis affects more than 750,000 low-income students, totaling more than $390 million owed to California's public colleges and universities. This debt is held by students at the UCs, CSUs, and community colleges, but is largely owed by students from low-income and marginalized communities. As declining enrollments and rising costs make college unaffordable for many Californians, we must act to address this challenge. 2 years ago, I introduced Assembly Bill 1160 to protect students from the harms of institutional debt. The bill aimed to prevent registration holds, diploma withholding, tax benefit garnishment, as well as end third-party collection and provide much-needed transparency through data collection. Unfortunately, AB 1160 stalled in the Senate Fiscal Committee, and I need your help to keep moving forward. I ask that you share your debt-related stories and experiences with your representatives so that they understand how this issue affects you and your community. Together, we can find a solution and make college affordable again. Thank you all for being here today. Your voices will make a difference.
Thank you for those remarks, Assemblywoman Pacheco, and for bringing awareness to the growing issue of institutional debt, and especially her leadership on this issue. We'll be hearing more about that throughout the summit. Next, I'm happy to introduce Julia Barnard, the Student Loan Ombudsman and Advisor to the Director at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB. Currently, she is serving as Director Chopra's Principal Policy Advisor on Student Loan Strategy and acting as the CFPB's primary liaison to the Department of Education and the Office of Federal Student Aid. She also leads the policy development process related to federal and private education loans, which has included the first government study of tuition payment plans and ongoing oversight of federal student loan services, private student lenders, and colleges. Before her time at the CFPB, Julia was a student loan team lead at the Center for Responsible Lending and a researcher at the University of California at Chapel Hill. Julia, do we have you on the line?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
For that nice introduction. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of this day. I'm so honored. Honored specifically to be speaking after Commissioner Hewlett and Assemblymember Pacheco, who I admire so much. And for all of you who don't know me, you might not know that I actually started my career in this very coalition, and it's such a joy to be with you today. I'm here today on behalf of the CFPB, an agency that has been at the front lines of the fight for student loan borrowers and servicer accountability for over 10 years. We're so proud of our accomplishments, such as banning bad actors like Navient from student loan servicing, holding schools accountable for abusive practices they employ when they collect debts from their students, handling thousands of consumer complaints, returning money directly to consumers, and so much more. We're coming together at somewhat of a season finale moment today for federal student loans, and I think the agenda is so perfect for the moment. So I'll avoid covering updates, and instead I want to say 3 things that have been on my mind. First, I think we as a community should begin to look forward from a place of pride. A huge and successful effort was made over the past few years to relieve millions of borrowers of their student debt burdens. We at the CFPB just published results last week from a survey of student loan borrowers that showed how cancellation allowed borrowers to make life-affirming decisions. I know we all know this intuitively, and it motivates us to be involved in the work, but we should always remember that we have had major successes that have improved people's lives in profound ways. Second, we know there's a lot of well-organized opposition to our goals. Litigation disruptions have characterized the borrower experience and have caused mass chaos and confusion over the past year. We hear proposals every day related to dismantling the Department of Education, increasing the use of private loans, which are almost always less advantageous to borrowers, denying defrauded borrowers access to the relief they are entitled to, and even removing income-driven repayment options that keep borrowers out of default. And third, building on that, we know there is so much work left to do, and we need to cultivate our creativity and relationships in the coming years. We know that our longstanding goals, reducing borrower harm, holding servicers accountable for their errors, and reducing the cost of college are still so far from complete. I've been thinking a lot about how to adjust our work over the coming years, and here are 3 things I think we can count on. First, we know the states will be leading, with California at the very forefront. Obviously, you have such wonderful leaders who are so committed to the work. This will require all of us to think about how state policies fit into national conversations about servicer obligations, institutional debt, student debt cancellation, and college affordability. And also, this will require all of us individually to step up to avoid a sort of tragedy of the commons situation where individual states decline to take the collective problems upon themselves because they think another state will step into that void. Second, I think we will need to get really creative. How can we tap into existing conversations to change the overall conversation and achieve our goals? How can we avoid the tragedy of the commons situation that I just talked about? Might student loan servicers be a good example of government inefficiency, for example? Does anyone else remember Marco Rubio's bill that proposed eliminating interest on federal student loans? Where do we agree on a bipartisan basis? And finally, we have to focus on our relationships. When I started my career in this coalition, actually, I learned at the Center for Responsible Lending a truism that we have no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, only permanent issues. I think this outlook will be crucial to the work in the coming years, and we all have to ask ourselves constantly whether we're communicating enough, collaborating enough, and building enough new relationships. I think today's event is a perfect first start. So I'm so grateful for all of you, your commitment to the work, your expertise, and your friendship especially. I hope you'll join me in celebrating our wins, thinking creatively about the tools we have available to us, and remembering to stay creative and keep in touch, even when we know the challenges are vast. Again, thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to learning with you today.
Thank you so much, Julia, for those remarks, your critical work you do every day for student loan borrowers. We appreciate you holding down the fort over there for us at CFPB. All right, and our final guest speaker leads an incredible team, if I do say so myself, at NextGen Policy. Arnold, or Arnie Sowell Jr., is the executive director of NextGen Policy, and he directs our team's policy development, legislative advocacy, strategic communications, grassroots organizing, and program activities. Before joining NextGen, Arnie spent 2 decades in the California State Assembly, serving as policy director for 5 assembly speakers, and over his distinguished 30-year career has held various high-level positions in state and local government. Arnie was honored for his work by the Sacramento Bee's Equity Lab as one of the top 20 Black changemakers in the Capital Region, and has appeared on Capital Weekly's top 100 list of professionals influencing change at the state capitol. He is an Oregon State University Honors College alum and holds a master's degree in public policy from the University of Washington. Arnie serves on the California State Board of Trustees, is an elected member of the Sacramento Natural Foods Cooperative, and is a proud father of 3 and grandfather of 2. Arnie, please take it away.
Sam, thank you very much for that introduction and for all the work of you and our higher education team on pulling together this summit and all of your work in the student loan space. As the executive director of NextGen Policy, I also just want to thank everyone and welcome you to today's 4th annual Free My Future Summit. Here at NextGen, we fight for progressive policy change to advance environmental, social, racial, and economic equity in California through justice-centered legislative advocacy, grassroots organization, strategic communications, and democratic civic engagement. NextGen works across a range of intersectional issues, including climate and digital equity and food insecurity and workforce development. But one of our long-standing key pillars in the policy pillars in the higher education space has been our work in coalition on the student debt crisis. And so I also just want to start by thanking the speakers and also our co-host today, that being the Student Debt Crisis Center, the Student Borrower Protection Center, Young Invincibles, and Consumer Reports. And we have all, I know you've all put in a lot of work to prepare and to put this summit on. And we also have all gotten into a lot of good trouble, as Commissioner Hewlett referred to, over the years in the student debt sort of space. I want to thank Commissioner Hewlett for her participation today and for leading the oversight of student loan servicers in California and for the creation of the statewide grant program that you heard about that is providing one-on-one individualized borrower assistance. It's the first of its kind in the nation. And she also mentioned, and you'll hear a little bit more later today, about the Student Loan Empowerment Network, and something that's also in place here in California and providing individualized assistance. You know, as just a quick aside, and Commissioner Hewlett referenced this, NGP and our sister entity, the Office of Kat Taylor, actually were very instrumental in working in coalition to actually create DFPI several years ago. And Commissioner Hewlett and I have worked together and known each other for over 20 years. And I can think of no better person and no better leader to fight for consumer protection in the student loan space than Commissioner Hewlett. Thank you to Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco for her leadership and remarks to bring awareness to the issue of institutional debt. This is a type of debt that is owed directly to colleges and universities and is only growing. And we look forward to working with her again this year in trying to raise awareness and trying to enact some statutes to govern this type of institutional debt, and it's something that you'll be hearing more about later today. I think at around 1 p.m. For panel 3. And finally, just want to thank the CFPB ombudsperson, Julia Barnard, for taking the time to join us today. I know that it's a really busy and stressful time for those in federal departments in Washington, D.C. And I just want to thank you for all your work to protect student borrowers and for your remarks regarding how it is that we might be able to move together and continue to fight in this space. So with that, just a few remarks about today's summit. We're super excited here about NextGen to bring back the Free My Future Summit. We were on hold for a few years during the pandemic, and so it's great to be with you in community today. Student borrowers, loan borrowers, experts, and others. Looking forward to the conversation, looking forward to your ideas, and looking forward to solutions that will help us break a broken student loan system and put in place policies and programs to support those with student debt. And also, a part of these conversations are also efforts to try to figure out how we make higher education more affordable. Given this unique moment in time we find ourselves in, bracing for the incoming presidential administration, I do want to hone into the community aspect of this fourth annual sort of Free My Future Summit. Far too often, we hear student loan borrowers express shame about their debt or feelings of hopelessness in terms of how they might figure out how to climb out of where they find themselves. And I want to state very clearly that this summit is a place to break down silos and connect with other borrowers and connect with others who might be able to be of assistance to you. There are more than 45 million Americans with student debt, and all borrowers are navigating a system that is already inherently confusing, and due to bad actors in the student loan servicing industry, a system that is filled with traps that keep borrowers locked into debt for far too long. And on top of this landscape, over the last few years, there have been numerous attempts to reform the system and provide borrowers with much needed and earned debt relief by President Biden. But with each attempt, we've seen special interests sue the Biden administration, preventing millions of borrowers from seeing any debt cancellation and causing even more confusion and anxiety among the student borrower sort of community. But thanks to President Biden, it's clear that it takes leadership and the will to support borrowers to change the student loan system. NextGen stands with students, borrowers, and other advocates who continue to demand that the president and policymakers fix the student loan system. We can't give up the fight, and we won't. States can continue to try to enact and create stronger policies and programs to support student borrowers, and California has done so already by passing the strongest student borrowers Bill of Rights in the nation. And you'll hear more about that later around 2 p.m. In the summit today. Additionally, California can reform our state financial programs as well as other states can as well to ensure that students are filling out the FAFSA and the CADA so we can prevent more students from becoming borrowers in the first place. Colleges and universities can also step up and support borrowers. And I want to leave you with this. Though there is much uncertainty and understandable anxiety about the future of student loans, repayment options, the financial aid system, don't despair. We've all weathered this storm before, and I hope you'll see that throughout today's summit that you're not alone. As you tune in online today, hundreds of others, student loan borrowers are with you, and they have questions. They have solutions, they have ideas, and they want to work together in a collective way to try to help fix the system. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Sam, and I just want to turn this day into a very productive space for discussion. Ask your questions, engage with us here at this fourth annual Free My Future Summit. And so let's go get into some good trouble together. And thank you once again to the co-host, and thank you once again to our speakers. Look forward to a very productive day. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Arnie, for those warm, welcoming remarks. And yes, we're happy to be back here for the fourth time for Free My Future Summit. And definitely want to thank a big thanks to all of our guest speakers this morning. We know there's no shortage of work, especially right now on issues related to student debt.